Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm a guy called Joe, and this is Bootstrapping Tools Let's Build, where we build applications together that help scrappy bootstrappers just like yourself figure out how to improve their business or while their coworkers just be better at what they're doing. Now, before we dive into this video's topic, please make sure to check out our YouTube channel. We have lots of videos on there that go through all different sorts of apps, from Retool to Airtable, Google Data Studio, as well as Google Apps. Of course, we do some custom stuff there. But of course, if you don't see something that you are looking for, please feel free to reach out to feedback@bootstrapping.tools. We'll be happy to take a look at that tool and then make a video just for you. And also, of course, if you do like our videos, make sure to hit that like button so that other scrappy bootstrappers just like yourself can find our videos. It's also the best way to support our channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about getting your reserved inventory for a given product through the Shopify API. So it's essentially, we're going to be using Retool and connecting to Shopify, and then we're going to help you calculate how to get the reserved inventory for your products. Now, quick thing, reserved inventory, just in case you don't know what that is, that's essentially when you're using Shopify or any type of sale or commerce platform, or just commerce in general, when your customers are placing orders and those orders are approved or confirmed, then you have to set aside a certain amount of inventory so that you can always fulfill those orders. And that's that amount that you've set aside is essentially called reserved inventory. So when you're looking at the inventory that you have on hand, you always have to subtract the reserved inventory to get your true inventory amount before you begin to restock. That way you know exactly how much you actually need to buy or restock with, or I guess purchase orders and all that. So diving into it, we're going to be looking at what we built last time, and that's essentially this quick Shopify demo. We did a couple of things in another video. I'll drop a link in the section below just in case you want to go through that video as well. But we got the product information, which is this side over here, this little table, and as we click through to it, it's going to populate a variance table, variance being the different variations of a product that you can get, red, blue, green, different sizes, different packs, all that. And we used the Shopify product variance endpoint in order to get that, and then also the get inventory level, which is another endpoint where when we click on the variant, it's going to run that query or that API request and then get the amount of inventory that we have available for that particular product or that unit. As you can see here, it's updating right on the right, and that's using the get inventory level. So the way that you would get the reserved inventory is you would have to run a query against the orders endpoint. So let's actually go over there to the API documentation that Shopify has, which is pretty good at documentation if I'm comparing it to some of the other stuff I've seen in the past. Essentially, let's go over to orders over here, and then let's go to the order endpoint, which is just on the right over here. Just click on that order. And then in here, you're going to see there's a couple of different endpoints here, and you can do order status any, and then orders blah, blah, blah. And within, let's just go to any one of these. Here, let's go to this one. What you're going to find in this data set is the quantity that was requested within that order. So over here, if I can find it, number, quantity, tax lines. Yeah, there's a lot of data in here that's super helpful, especially if you're doing more complex stuff. We're just going to get the quantity here so that we can do or calculate the reserved info. So it's fulfillments, line items. Okay, here. So this is what we want. We want to get the line items. So for every order, all the products that are within an order is called a line item for the Shopify data set. So within those line items, you're going to get the product information. So the product ID is over here. And then within it, you're going to get the quantity that was included in this order. And then you also get a SKU. So that's important though. The SKU is the primary identifier that we're going to use. So we're going to be taking the SKU number or the SKU value and matching it up with the products that we have on the other side so that we can figure out what the quantity of inventory is for that product and then compare it with the quantity from this order line item so that we can subtract that later on. But we're just going to sum that up so that we know exactly how much reserved inventory we need for each product. So that's essentially what we need to grab from it. What you'll actually notice is that because there's so many line items for it, you can have multiple line items for each one. It might be difficult for you to actually match them all up. So one of the things that you might want to do is, because within the orders, let me go back up here, you don't necessarily have a way to specifically say only for SKUs that equal this. This is one of those difficult problems that a lot of people face when they're using the Shopify API. One of the workarounds that you can do though is you can set a criteria for tags. It's not actually in the documentation over here, but it's something that is possible. So we're going to show you how to do that. But quickly before that, in order to use tags, you need to be able to tag your orders with the SKU value. So over here, I've already done it for my sample data over here. You'll see DM-03-red-10. That's one of the SKU numbers for those variations of the products. And of course, you know, having to do it manually would be a pain in the butt. But luckily, there are ways that you can do this automatically. So if we go over here to apps, I installed this order tagger app on Shopify. It got a lot of great reviews. Honestly, I think, you know, it worked out pretty well for me when I was doing it. When we go in here, there is a paid plan for this. There is another way that you can do it yourself if you wanted to roll your own and uses webhooks, which we'll cover that in another video. But if you're trying to just do something quick, I think this is totally worth the money if you need to quickly filter out your data by your orders data by SKU. So in here, you're just gonna set up something that says apply product tags as order tags when a new order is created. So whenever something comes in brand new order, you're going to apply the line items.sku to that order. That way, you know, you'll see in the orders over here, each tag has that SKU. So some of these have many different tags within it. I think this one had 1, 2, 3, 4. Or no, this is just 3. There are 3 items in this order, and they're just, you know, it's a lot of data that sometimes, you know, it'd be harder for you to do. So with that in mind, after you hook all that up and you have your tags, the first thing you're going to want to do is first to get your orders for particular products. So in here, let's go all the way back up to the documentation. And then what we're going to be looking for is the order, and then this is order ID. I think we actually need to, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this orders endpoint, and that's what we're going to start off with. So just /orders JSON. Let's go back over to our editor, and then we're going to create a new query in here. And it's going to be a API. Let's actually make this bigger. And let's call this get orders for products. Okay. And let's paste that in. So it's /admin/API. So that's the admin API for Shopify. And then that's the version, and then orders.json. When we preview this, we're going to get all the orders data. Okay. So now we want to filter this out. So what we'll do here is we can do that same status as any, because why not? It doesn't really hurt. Actually, instead of doing it in here, let me do it over here as URL parameters. We're going to say tag, and then that's going to equal to the selected row for table 2. So let me try to make this a little smaller. So just as a reminder, table 2, that's our variance table. So as you click on these, that tag changes. So we're going to do the braces or the curly brackets, and we're going to say table 2 dot selected row dot data, and then within there we're going to find the SKU value right here. All right, so let's hit the preview button, see what we get back. And then so this one is ASTI-01-black-4. And then when we check the data in here, we should be able to see that that is the SKU number that gets returned in our line items data. So that's the tag over there. And then our line items, if I can find it. So it's billing info. Here we go, line items. So one of these is the black, white. So that makes sense. So that's this order. And then if we go down further into the next item, this one probably just had multiple items in it. And there we go, the ASTI 1 black 4. So that's part of this. So now this order has a bunch of information in here. So as you can see, there's a little bit too much information in this order. So what we need to do now is we need to drill that down so that we can only get the quantity amounts for the SKU that we care about. Let's go ahead and save this. So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to do a basically a JS query, or we'll transformer, we'll do a JS query. So we'll just hit new and add JavaScript query. And then we're just going to write some custom code in here for us to be able to filter it all down. So let's call this calculate reserved inventory for product. A little long, but I think it's always nice to be very verbose and clear about what something does. That way it's easy for somebody else. Like if you're working with someone, they just come in and immediately they know this is what it's doing. I guess you could leave comments in the code, but just scanning through all the queries on the side, this is a little easier. So from here, let's start off with declaring our order data. So we're going to make that equal to the get orders for product data. All right, and then within there, if you remember, there's a little bit of information that's in different variables. So we're going to call this orders. So from there, we're going to declare a total line items because we just want to get all the line items. And then we'll just set that into an open array. All right, and then from there, let's just loop through our orders data and send all the line items directly to that place. So, and this is just in case there are multiple orders for it. Otherwise, you can just set your line item data to the orders that line items. But because you might have a case where you're going to have multiple, this is how we're going to have to do it. We just got to loop through each order and then take the total line items and just add it into this array here. So we're going to do order data dot length, and then if it's not ++, typical for loop function, for loop here. I'm going to take line items, then we're going to push very standard type of array manipulation. So order data, and then that's I because we're iterating through that, and then from there we're just going to take in the line items. So let me actually make sure that worked. So let's return total line items here. I'll preview that. 2 items. Okay, so we got that. So there's one order. So we're at the data. So I actually think there's only one order in there. So there's 2 items in there. One of them is the one that we selected, the ASTI, and then the other one is that other product, which is the white one. Cool. Awesome. So we can close this. Let's save it real quick. Always good to save stuff. So then now what we need to do is we need to iterate through the total line items, and then from there match up with the SKUs and see if any of that needs to be filtered out. So we're going to do total line items. Let's equal it to itself dot filter, and then row. We're going to do a fat arrow function here where we do row.skew. So only filter it out by only where the row.skew equals, and then we're going to do that table 2 that select the row.data.skew. So very similar to what we were doing before with the actual API request that we sent up to Shopify. The only difference is we're just comparing each line item within the data set so that we only get back what we care about. So from there, we also, before we do that, let's do a quick check here. It's always good to test. Okay, so nothing happened here. Hold up. Comment this out. Why didn't anything happen? 2 items. Oh, okay, so this is one. Okay, so this is in an array itself. All right, so what we want to do then, there, let's uncomment this out. Total line items equals total line items dot flat. So this is what this is going to do is it's going to flatten out the array so that we are only displaying everything we care about. Oh, look at that. Okay, perfect. And so now we have what we want. We only have the one order or the one line item that includes the data from that order for the selected SKU. Basically, what we did was we put all the line items from all the orders that we had into an array, and then we flatten that array out so that it's just one level, so there's no nested arrays within it. And then within that, we filtered it down so that only the objects in there that had the same SKU as the selected tables SKU would get returned. And so we only get one order back, or rather, sorry, one line item back. And within there, we have a quantity value right here, which is going to be the basis of what we need to do. So within here, if we had multiple of these line items, this part would make a little bit more sense, but because I'm just thinking ahead, we're going to have more of those. What we want to do is we want to iterate through all of these total line items and then sum up the quantity value. So here, let me show you what I mean. We're going to do total quantity reserved, just to name it something nice, is equal to 0. So we're going to start off at 0, start that counter off. And then for the total line items, we're going to do another for loop. And I know people like their, certain loops. Some people like to do while loops and everything like that. For loops, I just always default to. It's just the easiest thing in my head. So we're going to do total line items dot length. And then I++, typical for loop. And then within it, we're going to be taking the total quantity reserved and then adding it up to each other. So take this. This equals itself plus the total line items I for the one that we're going through, and then quantity because it's called quantity in the data set. So let me actually just copy and paste, make sure I don't do any typos. You always do typos, so that's the same level. It's not nested ending or anything, so it's just quantity. Okay, so let's take this, and this is what we want to reserve. We should expect to see 1 as the result here. Perfect, 1. So let's save that. I'm not sure if there's anything that has multiple, but here, let's try this. So this has no orders. This has no orders. Let's go back over to our orders data. Let me just make sure that we did this correctly. So what's one that maybe off the top of our heads there's plenty of? 6, Steve Black, AD03 Black OS. I think this one already has 2. So AD OS Black. So that's this one, Adidas Classic Backpack. All right, so let's find that in our data set here. This one, I think this one is it. Let's click on this. So Black OS, that's the 03. I think it was 03. Was it 03? It was. Okay, so when we run this, we should see 2. Perfect. So now we know that our script is running, and it's running as expected. So let's also, in this little area over here, let's add it in, not text input because you don't want to change the amount of reserved. You just want to display the amount of reserved. So now, similar to what we did up top, I'm going to do the asterisk for the bolding, and then we're going to say reserved inventory. And then we're going to say calculate inventory for product.data. Okay, I'm gonna run that, and so it shows 2. And I guess while we're at it, we might as well add a little bit more data in here so that you can see what's going on everywhere. So here, Instead of this data set, let's do the get orders for product.data.orders. Okay, so you can see that there are 2 orders in here. There's actually a lot of data in here. Let's yeah, there's a lot of information in here. We can filter it out some other time. We can use that with the fields criteria. Actually, yeah, why not? Let's do that together. So in the orders, so we're gonna say we only care about certain fields, separated by the field names. So back into our editor, open up the bottom pane, inventory management, get orders for product. And then we're going to say fields. What are the fields we care about? We want the line items. If I can spell. Line items, and I think the API documentation said separated by comma, right? Specified by comma separated list of field names. Okay. So let's say that. Let's get the ID. Let's get. I think that's all we need for now. If we need more, we'll just go ahead and we need the tags. Yes, we need the tags. And token, don't need that. Total price, why not? That's always nice. My items with an S, we have that. And shipping address. So I think we might need to pass this as an array. We'll have to see. Let's just do a test for it first and see if we have to. This is running a little slow. All right, let's test that and see if it gives us back an error. Okay. We need to set an array. Try that. Nope, still nothing. Let's see here. Just do line items by itself. Okay, so it returns stuff. Okay, so maybe we didn't need the quotation marks. Let's do line items and ID. Okay, so we didn't need the quotes. Note that for anybody working with the Shopify API, do not need quotes. Maybe I can do Command Z or Control Z until I didn't go ahead and try to proactively add stuff that I did not need to add. Oop. Okay, so shipping address, preview. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead and save and run this, and then that table should get dumbed down significantly. Close this out. On here, so it's only item tags and line items. So I think that's fine. Okay, well then, oops. Oh no. Oh, let me refresh. Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and preview our app here. So what we essentially did, just to do like a quick recap here, is within the application, what we did was we added in some new queries to get data for each individual variant. Oh, we actually need to do one more thing before we see the reserved inventory. So we actually need to string things together. So as soon as we get the inventory levels, what we want to do after it finishes is we want to also query the rest of the data set for the individual orders. So that's going to be with the variant. Right, so once we click on that, we want to get the reserve. So actually, for table 2, what we're going to do here is we're going to add in an event handler that's going to trigger a query for get orders for products. Okay, so that's selected. And then once this runs, we wanted to run the calculate reserved inventory right after that. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out. So click around. So that updates, click this, and then it also updates. Nice. So one more time, let's go ahead and preview it. So this loads up, reserved inventory is 2. We go to Adidas Superstar 80s. To the first one, there are no orders, so nothing is reserved. Available quantity is still at 0. 13. This is at 19. This is 16. This has 1, reserved inventory 1 for 1 order. 8, 1 order for 1. 0 orders, so reserved inventory 0. And also no orders, so reserved inventory 0. So working as expected. So like I was saying before, quick recap. First thing we did was we added an API call to get the orders information. So that's just using the standard orders.json endpoint. And then from there, we filtered it down by tags where it equaled the SKU. And we did that by adding a tag for the SKU for each one of our products over here. And we automated it by using the order tagger app, which you can install. And so I don't believe it was very expensive to use this. So if you have the budget, totally worth it. If you need to do this type of calculation, of course. If you don't, then it doesn't matter. But essentially, that's just whenever order is created, set the dynamic tag for line items.sku. That way, we can filter down our orders by the SKU value. And then we also passed in fields just to make that data set a little smaller and more manageable. A lot of data in there, we don't necessarily need it. And then from there, on success, it runs the calculate reserved inventory for product JavaScript query, which is just basically just JavaScript code that we're running. And what we're doing here is we're going through all of the orders that we got in the response. And then we take the line items and shove it into a new array, a temporary array. And that then we iterate through and loop through and get all of the line items that match up with the SKU that we selected before. Once we have all that together, we go through all the items, all the line items there, and then sum up the quantity amount so that we have the total amount of inventory that we need to set aside as reserved inventory out of our total inventory. So we know how much total inventory we have versus how much we need to set aside. And then from there, you can do the calculation. So this 46 to 2 means that realistically, you only have 44 units for this product that you can continue to sell. So you'll have a sellable amount that you can actually calculate on your own. But that's basically it for this video. If you did run into any trouble, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. We're always happy to help. Many people have left comments before and we've tried to help them as best we can. So don't be shy. And leave a comment there, or if you want to see something else or you had questions, just leave a comment and we'll get back to you. But of course, if you did like the video, make sure to hit that like button. It's the best way to support this channel if you like our content and help other people just like yourself find these videos and learn from it just like you did. We have a couple of other videos on the topic of the Retool and Shopify. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button and also the bell so that you get notifications whenever we release those videos. Of course, thanks. It's been a pleasure. I'm a guy called Joe. This is Bootstrapping Tools. Let's build, and we're out.